the White Stuff, there's something magical about it. Roaring fires, a winter wonderland, eggnog, the children's rosy cheeks. Aye, right. The White Stuff caught Scotland with its ski pants down. Winter Wonderland became Winter Blunderland as the country ground to a virtual halt.
Now that snow and ice risk is set to continue during this evening and tonight, so the Met Office do have a weather warning in place. Now
it's not as if we didn't know it was coming. The forecasters warned us an Arctic blast was heading in from Russia, but without much love. For most of us, it was 7 days of hell. We skidded, slipped and slid our way to work. Up and down the country, it was meteorological mayhem. Schools closed, flights grounded, trains cancelled. There were heroes too, true grit as the mercury plunged. The wrong kind of snow, no, just too much of the stuff. Here we go, here we go. We're on a ride to nowhere. Come on inside. Mother Nature teaching us who's really in charge. And in case you've missed the lesson, it certainly isn't us. So has Scotland passed the test? Opinions may be divided, but everyone agrees there are important lessons to be learned from the country's Arctic adventures. After all, as the temperatures plummet, you've got to raise your game. And remember, it's a long time till spring.
It led to widespread school closures, chaos on the roads, an airport paralysed, no trains north of the Central Belt, and the Forth Road Bridge closed for the first time in its 46-year history. Scottish Widows building in Edinburgh today. Look at it go. Look at the size of it when you see the people down underneath. A narrow escape for them. It was filmed by Kirsten Farker from Edinburgh. Thanks for that.
We started off when the weather moved in last Saturday, Sunday. We kept running through it. And really the amount of snow that kept falling where we didn't have a chance to clear everything. Network Rail, who operate the track, had men out in all extremes, but there's 2,400 sets of points in Scotland and you've got to try and keep those clear, and that's a very, very hard task when you're working in sub-zero temperatures. From a ScotRail point of view, the sets continued to run, but by the time we got to Thursday evening, we had something like 3 tonnes of snow under each set, and it started to freeze with the plummeting temperatures. And then we had to bring the sets in to check the safety systems on them to make sure that we could see that the brakes were working, and we wouldn't compromise safety at all and send sets out.
But obviously the question, and you know what I'm going to say, they manage it in other countries. We've got an email from William Johnson who said, it used to be the trains kept going in bad weather. Are these units too light, or are they just not suitable for Scottish weather?
Yeah, I think we've got to look at it. You know, we've had 2 bad winters. Before that, we had nothing for 7 years before that, and the units coped perfectly well. These are exceptional temperatures that we're working in at the moment, you know, -15, -20 in some locations.
But do we need to look at the sort of trains perhaps that we have, because we seem to be getting these very bad winters a bit more frequently?
I think the trains themselves, we can always look at them, but it's the investment and the cost of buying new trains, that's always very difficult. But we have a look at our systems, how we operate, and we always review after each event. We learnt from last year, we will learn from the last week.
Judith out into the cold. Judith, you've been looking through the record books.
I have been. It's been very interesting. We have seen some heavy snow this year. It's the first since 1993, and again it was eastern Scotland that bore the brunt of that heavy snow. And many of us have our own memories of bad winters over the years, but for the Met Office living memory, the 4 coldest winters we've had are 1947, 1963, 1979 and January this year.
Kirkintilloch in 1947. The exceptionally cold spell which started in January caused massive disruption, but it was compounded by post-war shortages of food and fuel. The heaviest snowfalls were in March, with 23-foot drifts in parts of the Highlands. Pennon in Aberdeenshire was cut off for weeks, and emergency supplies were eventually delivered by sea. 1963, the bitterest winter in living memory, lasted from the beginning of December to early March.
And there were months when the helicopter rarely came into its own. This mission's target was a shepherd's house in the Lammermuir Hills. On the railways, some drifts were so deep, explosives had to be used.
And on Loch Lomond, the post was famously delivered from Balmaha to the islands by sledge.
It seems that this bitterly cold weather will be with us for some considerable time.
The winter of 1979 is most remembered as the winter of discontent, but blizzards and deep snow added to the misery. Thousands of curlers turned out to celebrate with a grand match on the Lake of Menteith. And in January this year we were sliding again. Many councils were caught short with inadequate grit for the roads. Now we're in December and we don't know yet if this winter will enter the record books, but the first ever avalanche warning for Arthur's.
There's nowhere to put the snow.
June White is almost 70. She's making a valiant effort to keep her driveway clear, but there's nowhere to go. She lives only 2 streets from the main road, but she's been stranded for a week. Our local councillor Eric Barry is taking me up to meet her.
It's even difficult walking here where the car tracks are because it's packed ice underneath. There's been no salt put down here and clearly no gritting or snow ploughs along. So it's very difficult for people to get out, even for the bare essentials.
Careful, there's ice there, and you might...
How have things been for you?
Oh, it's been awful. Really terrible. I've got 2 disabled in the house, and the lady across the road's very ill. I take a meal across to that lady, because she can't get out.
Another community, this time Midlothian, and similar problems.
Hello, Mrs. Harvey, it's the British Red Cross.
In Bonnyrigg, volunteers are helping the Red Cross check on vulnerable people. Many of the side roads are only accessible by 4x4s. Last call of the day and we're off to see 81-year-old Mary Henderson. She's not left the house for 8 days.
Yes. Is it if we come in and just have a wee chat and see how you're getting on, Mary?
Oh. It's getting everybody down now. Not only me, but people around and everything. You know, it's the same thing when you get up in the morning and going out at night. And it seems like it's the frosting all over now. And I'd be terrified now to go outside.
For now, Mary's grateful for the guardian angels making sure she's okay. But as another day of adverse weather approaches, she wonders just how long before the outside world will be accessible again.
And if there are any vulnerable people living near you, I'm sure you've got a couple of minutes just to pause.